Yes, I will. Okay, so for Adidas, and if you
Sorry.
like, I can. Oh yeah.
Is it all right if Hi, you've worked for Adidas. Could you give me a brief overview of what you did with Adidas, please?
Yeah. So when I was working for Adidas, they owned Reebok as well. So basically I worked on both brands, and it would be everything from launching a new shoe or a revised shoe to a whole kind of brand awareness campaign. So that could be a whole CrossFit training campaign, or a whole collection for, say, Adidas Originals. These campaigns kind of, well, then they call them a 360 campaign, and I don't know if you know what that means, but it basically encompasses all areas of how to market and PR something. So the entire budget would be spent and divided in all different departments, from that would be digital and influencer to they call it gosh, I can't even remember the term for it, but yeah, they have a different term for departments in Adidas. Stakeholders, sorry. So all the different stakeholders, that would be PR, influencer marketing, gifting, and then, billboards and film. It would be basically, so what I would work on is strategizing how we would make sure that that shoe or product reaches every single touch point in the whatever system they want to throw it at. And basically what you would do to begin that kind of strategy is figure out the kind of market that it would appeal to. So that would be to define the demographic, the age group, and then the countries that are interested in that, let's just say, product. And then what you would do is find out their buying habits. Do they buy from Instagram, or do they buy from blah, blah? And then you kind of start figuring out how to divide the budget to kind of cover all those areas. And yeah, it's a long, complicated, and very laborious process. So yeah, I mean, you never really get it right, because you're always constantly testing things, and you only really learn by failing. So yeah, all you can do is take those learnings and then learn and then put them to the next product, basically. Yeah. Did that answer that question?
Yeah, that did. It was really interesting as well. Thank you.
Okay.
How did you get freelance work from big companies like Adidas and Nike?
These companies, they're huge, right? They're just so big that even though they have a calendar of launches every year, they're never fully prepared for what is going to come at them. So say Nike recently did, no, sorry, Nike didn't. It was Ronaldinho, is it him? The football player, Ronaldinho. I never know how to say his name, which is terrible. But yeah, so Ronaldinho, let's just say that's his name. So he was about to kick his, now this is also really bad. I'm very bad with numbers. So he was about to kick either his 100th goal or 1,000th goal. I think it was 1,000. Anyway, it's a really big deal. Nike brought out a shoe to celebrate that. That's not something that they would have planned. Maybe they did, but not well. That's when they call people like me up and say, Retna, oh my God, we need you to write all this stuff for the shoebox. Ronaldinho needed to write a letter because he was going to give 1,000 of these shoes. I really hope it's 1,000, but yeah, 1,000 of these shoes to kids in the neighborhood that he grew up in, which is a bit of a low income area is it in Portugal? Oh my God, this is terrible because I actually do work for him all the time. But they all become one person in the end. So you can see how much I follow sport. So he wrote a letter to each kid, which I wrote basically, and then gave them out at the football field, which was just this dirty football field that he used to practice in growing up. The thing is, what they did was revamp that football field, like completely put new grass down, make it all colorful, you know, make it very Nike, so that the neighborhood could, yeah, it was in his honor. It was to celebrate the whatever many goals he's kicked, and just to bring life to the community type thing. And it was just kind of you know, Nike's focus last year was about not so much achieving your goals, but just kind of making people feel like they are doing enough just by trying. Because Nike is usually very performance driven when it comes to their messaging. But I think after COVID, they just wanted to be a little bit more kinder in their messaging, a little bit softer. So last year they really were kind of about just being kinder to yourself type thing. So that kind of theme runs into every single thing that they do, and including Ronaldinho's 1,000th goal. So yeah, he kind of sent out an inspirational letter. Anyway, basically these kinds of things are never ever planned. And so Nike, Adidas, Calvin Klein, all these really huge companies that produce a lot of different departments for a lot of different reasons, they will always call on freelancers that can come in and just get the job done. And
okay,
yeah, that's how that works.
what skills are you looking for in a PR intern, and what makes graduates stand out?
I think PR is a really underrated job, because people just think that if you give stuff away, or if you can basically bribe people to write something about your product, that's pretty much PR. Or if you send out a press release, that's kind of what PR is in a lot of people's heads. You know, if you have like a contact list and you send out a press release, but to me, and yeah, I mean, it stands for, is it public relations or personal relations? Anyway, whatever it is. Okay, public relations. It's really, because I used to write for a newspaper. So a lot of people in PR that I really liked working with were people that understood what I needed. And when I was a fashion editor, I had pages to fill and columns that I would write every week. And some people would send me, say, a scuba mask that I'm never, ever going to use. And other people would send me Louboutins and say, we know winter's coming up and the party season's happening or whatever, this will work with your pages. They knew my pages. They knew how I worked. And I think that kind of PR is lost now because digital is so quick, you know, and it's a really hard thing to kind of keep track of what everybody's working on all the time. But for an intern, I think it would be someone that can think quickly, you know, and is willing to, I don't want to say go above and beyond because that's just so cliched, but someone that's willing to understand what it is that they're promoting. So, you know, your mum's a fabulous designer. So, you know that things that are made in a certain way, that are treated a certain way, or that's done a certain way need to kind of be promoted a certain way. And I think a lot of people just think this is a really cool t-shirt, there's 500 of them, you should just put it in your magazine. Whereas there's usually always a more interesting story to tell about that t-shirt, and a good PR intern will try and find that out. And, you know, that's what would make a good PR person that journalists or influencers will turn to, rather than someone that just sends gifts or a press release and expects people to get back to them, you know?
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Good, I'm glad.
What do you think about VR and the metaverse in relation to the PR industry?
Oh my God. Well, when I say I just wrote some stuff, but I've worked on this with Karl Lagerfeld. They're doing all this stuff with Cara Delevingne. I do not understand it. I refuse to say I'm too old. I've just always been not very good with computer stuff. I think the metaverse and VR kind of, if I understand your generation, I guess, if that's the demographic that we are wanting to sell to or appeal to, I understand that it's really, really important. I also think it's super interesting because it means that, you know, there's no waste in certain aspects of promoting, using VR and the metaverse to promote things. I know that it can generate waste in other ways, but I don't really feel like I'm very qualified to answer that question well, but I understand that it is really important. I know that with luxury brands, it's worked very, very well to appeal, especially to the Asian audiences, because over in Asia, they have embraced that far quicker than European and perhaps England. But yeah, my experience with it is not, I don't think, very deep enough to be able to answer that properly.
That's fine. What's your opinion on the UK PR industry compared to Western Europe?
Gosh, I guess because media is very different in the UK than it is in Western Europe, you know, in say things like Grazia or even just celebrity culture in the UK means that if a PR person can get someone wearing something and papped in them, they know that that is going to generate sales. Whereas that kind of celebrity culture and following and copying people just doesn't really appeal to the European consumer mindset. And also UK is very much more about fast fashion. Like, I know that people there only like to wear, not people, but a certain kind of consumer will only be seen in something once. but that's just how they think clothing should be. So I know that PR in the UK is a lot faster in that respect. Sorry, I just have to check what that is. So in that way, I feel like UK PR is a bit lazier. They don't have to try as hard to perhaps promote something with a story. And it's very old school when it comes to print and editorial style media, because if you advertise in certain things, you're going to get coverage no matter what, because advertising is now, you know, magazines are begging for advertisers. And, you know, titles like British Vogue, they just have a bigger reach, so they can kind of be lazier when it comes to PR, you know? Yeah. PR in Western Europe in relation, well, that's another thing as well. So in the UK, you have all these kinds of different styles of media. So you have your broadsheets, or you have your monthlies, or you have your glossies. And in Western Europe, they don't really think like that. You kind of have trashy mags, or you have a newspaper. And yeah, the media is just not as sophisticated as UK media. So PR from what I've seen in say Paris or Berlin, would be more influencer based and events based. Whereas in the UK, certain PR people have their go-to contacts, and they will be able to make sure that they can get into Grazia or whatever it is that they want to appeal to, you know? I don't know, with influencer culture as well, PR's changed so much, because you can get coverage digitally without having to even talk to journalists these days. So I think in the UK, PR is a lot more sales driven, whereas in Western Europe, PR is more a brand driven. So they're not expecting things to be converted into sales. They're just happy that their product is seen on the right person. Yeah.
Thank you. I never knew that, so I've learned a lot. But thank you for your time, and thank you for being in the interview. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm happy that I've helped.